South Koreans will be heading to polling stations tomorrow to elect a new leader. This evening, both the DP's Lee Jae-myung and the PPP's Moon-soo closed their 3-week-long campaign in the capital, Seoul. To ensure the election day goes smoothly, the authorities have switched gears to a special emergency posture, placing tighter safety measures at polling stations. U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping are expected to speak over the phone soon amid renewed trade dispute. It's June 2nd, 8 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. With Election Day slated for tomorrow, presidential contenders are making their final pitches at this hour. Let's go over to our campaign correspondent Shin Ha-young standing by at a rally of Liberal Party contender Lee Jae-myung in Yeouido, Seoul. Ha-young, what would be his final message this evening?
Well, Jung-min, I'm here at Yeouido Park in western Seoul, where Democratic Party candidate Lee Jae-myung is about to arrive and hold a finale to his official campaign. And right now, as you can see behind me, a large crowd of people has gathered in front of the stage, filling the area with chants as they wait for Lee's arrival. And choosing Yeouido as the site of the end of his campaign is meant to highlight what the Senate election is really about. And Yeouido is home to the National Assembly, where a vote put an end to December's martial law saga. And it's also where protesters spent a cold winter with light sticks calling for the impeachment of former President Yoon Suk-yeol. And just like at the start of his campaign, he is expected to highlight his revolution of light message and emphasize his commitment to ending what he describes as an insurrection. He focused his last day of rallies on Seoul and the surrounding metropolitan area. Earlier today, he visited Seongnam City in Gyeonggi-do Province, not only the city where he grew up, but also where he was first elected to public office as the city's mayor in 2010. Take a listen.
Your vote is the start of real change, turning despair into hope, division into unity, and stagnation into growth. Trust Lee Jae-myung, a loyal and capable public servant who has always delivered results through action. I'll get the job done.
After wrapping up his rally in Yeouido, he'll turn to YouTube Live at 10 p.m. to make a final appeals to voters.
And the official campaign period comes to a close in a few hours. That being said, do walk us through Lee Jae-myung's 22-day campaign.
Well, Jung-min, I've been covering Lee Jae-myung's campaign from the day he declared his candidacy, which took me all over the country. And according to the Democratic Party, he held 66 rallies nationwide during this 22-day official campaign period. And he traveled over 5,000 kilometers and met more than 236,000 people on the trail. And unlike past campaigns that focused mostly on the capital area, over half of his rallies were held outside Seoul. And as he traveled across the country, he repeatedly emphasized two main goals: bringing the country together and putting an end to the insurrection. And another notable point is that he delivered his rally speeches from behind bulletproof glass. And this follows growing concerns within the party and among supporters over his safety, especially considering he was stabbed in the neck during a visit to Busan in January last year. His camp also restricted access near the stage and is limiting physical contact with supporters, including handshakes. And that's all for this hour.
We now head over to the conservative camp, whose contender Moon-soo is poised to end his rally here in the capital as well. Our campaign correspondent Kim Do-yeon joins us there. Do-yeon, the candidate was crisscrossing the country throughout the day, and curtains are going down on his campaign in downtown Seoul.
That's right, Jung-min. The finale for Kim's presidential election campaign has been well underway since 6 p.m. with some dance crew and keynote speeches to heat up the crowd before Kim reaches here at 8:30 p.m. Now he's traveling from all the way down south as he started his rallies in Jeju Island and stopped at cities of Busan, Daegu, and Daejeon before finally reaching here at Seoul City Hall. Now, while on this cross-country tour, if you will, he also held a press conference sending out a plea for more votes and apologizing for the declaration of martial law. Take a listen.
If I am elected, I will pursue reforms and changes beyond what anyone can imagine. I will fundamentally transform the way the government operates, in line with the people's demands and the calling of the times. And I will never let the people down.
Now, this is a popular finale spot. We saw Yoon-do his here as well back in 2022. There have been other PPP primary contestants here on the stage to make the finale more impactful. As you know, the rally speakers and trucks are going to all shut down by 9 p.m. and afterwards Kim will take it to the streets. He's set to walk around popular nightlife neighborhoods, Hongdae and Gangnam, to meet with younger voters. Note that in Korea, election days are public holidays, so a lot of young people could be enjoying the holiday eve.
Now, what have been some of the messages that Kim Moon-soo sought to share during his 22-day rally?
Right, Jung-min. By the time Kim reaches here at 8:30, he'll have traveled 7,300 kilometers in the past 22 days with 157 election campaign activities. Now, that's according to the party. And throughout this event-packed journey of his message has been the same, that Jae-myung has legal risks and that he's acting like a dictator already. Now, he's citing these guilty rulings that have been appealed, the DP's pressure on the Supreme Court, and the DP's legislative efforts to protect Lee from his legal risks. We all know Kim started his race on the back foot. His party's president was impeached over the declaration of martial law. The polls had him trailing the DP's Jae-myung well beyond the margin of error. Now, to close this gap, Kim had to court undecided voters, while the party sought to distance itself from former President Yoon Suk-yeol. In recent days, Kim also drew attention with daily T-shirt slogans, highlighting his love for family as his wife and daughter actively campaigned alongside him. It was a contrast to his DP rival, who has kept his family largely out of the public eye.
Also on this final day of the official campaign period, Reform Party candidate Lee Jun-suk sought to reach out to young voters in the capital area before heading to the conservative stronghold of Daegu. At lunchtime earlier today, he was at the Korea Polytechnic University in Gyeonggi-do province for talks with students at the cafeteria there. Later, he made his way to Gyeongsan, Gyeongsangbuk-do province to sit down with students at Yeongnam University. The final venue of his presidential rally this evening took place at Suseong Lake in Daegu City. Voters in the country will head to the polls tomorrow to elect a new president who will fill the vacancy at the top office. For more on what to expect on Election Day, our Moon Hye-ryun joins us in the studio. Hye-ryun, what should voters know about the schedule and timeline tomorrow?
So over 14,000 polling stations will be open nationwide from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. So during a normal presidential election, polling stations are open until 6 p.m. But this extended voting window reflects the special nature of this election that's being held to fill a presidential vacancy. Eligible voters will need to bring a government-issued photo ID to their designated polling station in order to cast their vote. At 8:10 p.m., exit polls based on surveys of voters taken throughout the day will be released by major broadcasters. They're often a strong indicator of who might be in the lead, although official counting will begin immediately after polls close and will continue into the night. It's expected that a clear picture of the outcome will emerge at around midnight, but that could shift depending on how close the race is. During the 2017 presidential election, results were projected by 10 p.m., whereas in the 2022 presidential election, results weren't clear until 2 a.m. the next day.
Right, we will be closely following that. And what is being done to ensure a smooth and safe election day?
So the NEC chairperson Roh Tae-ak issued a nationwide statement this morning, urging the public to unite through participation. He emphasized the historic importance of this election, calling it a chance to move forward beyond division and towards hope. But he also acknowledged the challenges. The shortened campaign period has left limited time for voters to fully assess candidates and their policies. So to strengthen transparency and public trust, the NEC is maintaining strict election integrity measures. That includes 24-hour CCTV surveillance of ballot storage sites, first introduced during last year's general election. Chairman Roh also highlighted that this is a nationwide effort, made possible with the support of local governments and public servants, many of whom are working overtime to make tomorrow's vote possible. Meanwhile, fire departments nationwide have entered a special emergency posture, inspecting polling stations and ballot counting centers for fire hazard and deploying over 2,000 personnel and 460 fire trucks to counting centers. The police are also on the highest state of alert, which mobilizes 100% of available personnel. Officers are being deployed to polling stations, ballot transfer routes, and ballot counting centers. In total, over 168,000 police staff will be involved in election-related operations. Security around the presidential candidates has also been ramped up, with 200 officers assigned to personal protection. Police will remain on high alert until after the presidential inauguration.
Now, the race is coming down to the wire. Are there any last-minute developments people should keep an eye on?
So a key development throughout this election has been the Conservative bloc's continued struggle with candidacy mergers. In a campaign rally just yesterday, PPP candidate Moon-soo openly expressed hope for a last-minute merger with Lee Jun-seok, despite early voting seeing as the final deadline for such talks already being over. This shows that hopes for a deal persist. However, Lee Jun-seok has remained firm, dismissing the possibility of a merger this morning on social media. This election has also seen campaign trails engage in negative campaigning. Most prominently in recent days have been allegations surrounding Democratic Party candidate Lee Jae-myung's son, who reportedly engaged in illegal online gambling. With the election now less than a day ahead, eyes are on how these developments could sway voters in these final critical hours.
Right, we're going to be watching that. Thank you, Hae-yeon.
Thank you for having me.
U.S. President Donald Trump and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping are expected to speak on the phone amid allegations of violations of a temporary bilateral trade deal agreed upon last month. Lee Yoon-hee has more.
U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping are expected to speak soon on ongoing trade negotiations, according to White House Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. The anticipated phone talks come amid renewed tensions after Trump accused China of breaching a temporary agreement made last month in Geneva. That deal was aimed at easing trade tensions by mutually easing tariffs and trade restrictions. Bessent stressed that China is holding back its exports of rare earth minerals, which are critical for global industrial supply chains. Under the temporary truce, China reduced its tariffs on U.S. imports to 30%, down from the steep 145% level initially imposed in response to Trump's trade measures. Over the weekend, Trump took to his social media platform to say that if the courts somehow rule against the U.S. on tariffs, that would allow other countries to hold the U.S. hostage with their anti-American tariffs. His comments followed a Thursday decision by a federal appeals court to temporarily pause a lower court ruling that had invalidated most of his tariffs. Trump added this would mean the economic ruination of the United States of America. While Trump administration officials say they have other options for imposing tariffs should they ultimately lose the case, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick made it clear there will be no extension to the 90-day pause. In a Sunday interview with Fox News, Lutnick stated, "Rest assured, tariffs are not going away." On Friday, Trump announced he would double tariffs on steel and aluminum imports from 25% to 50%. Yeouido, Arirang News.
Ahead of second talks in Turkey, Ukraine and Russia ramp up their military operations against each other, with Kyiv launching one of its most ambitious counter-offensives against the Kremlin. Yeouido has the latest.
Ukraine and Russia are set to sit down for a second round of peace talks at around 1 p.m. local time in Istanbul on Monday. But just a day prior, on June 1st, a Ukrainian drone attack had destroyed more than 40 Russian planes deep in Russia's territory. In an evening address on Sunday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that the operation had been planned for more than a year and a half and used 117 drones to carry out the attacks. It's been reported that Zelensky personally supervised the operation, which he claims was headquartered out of an office next to the local Russian intelligence and security service. Codenamed Spider's Web, over the 18 months it took to prepare, sheds of drones were smuggled into Russia aboard special compartments of freight trucks, deployed to at least 4 separate locations in the perimeters of air bases. Then the roof panels of the sheds were removed remotely to launch the attack. According to Ukraine's domestic security agency, the operation disabled 34% of Russia's strategic cruise missile bombers and caused approximately $7 billion in damage. Meanwhile, Russia also launched a significant attack on Ukrainian territory overnight on the same day with some 472 drones and 7 ballistic and cruise missiles, killing 12 Ukrainian soldiers and injuring over 60 others. It has been reported that the previous meeting of the two sides on May 16th resulted in the war's biggest prisoner swap, but showed no signs of peace or even a ceasefire. It was also then that Ukraine and Russia agreed to exchange their conditions for a ceasefire for the second round of talks. Kyiv presented its terms last week, a roadmap for a long-term peace settlement, outlining an initial 30-day ceasefire as a first step, followed by the mutual return of prisoners and the repatriation of Ukrainian children taken to Russian-controlled territory. Russia said it would present its proposal at the meeting. Neither heads of state are expected to attend the peace talks. Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov is expected to lead the Ukrainian representation, while the Russian delegation will be led by Kremlin aide Vladimir Medinsky. Yeouido, Arirang News.
In Gaza, an aid distribution site became a scene of shocking violence, with dozens reportedly shot and killed by Israeli soldiers. Israel denies such reports. Yeouido reports.
Dozens of Palestinians were reportedly killed and over 100 others injured on Sunday, with the Palestinian Civil Defense saying Israeli soldiers at a relief distribution center run by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation fired at people seeking food and aid. The AFP says 31 people were killed and over 176 injured in Rafah at a relief distribution site run by the United States and Israel. According to the spokesperson for the Civil Defense, Mahmoud Basal, Israel targeted thousands of civilians. Hamas also released a statement saying that Israel committed a terrible massacre targeting thousands of civilians heading to a distribution center. The Associated Press, citing a witness, said that at around 3 a.m., Israeli soldiers ordered the crowd to disperse and come back later. When a crowd began forming about 1 kilometer from the distribution site, they opened fire. Another witness said that at around 5 a.m., drones and tanks suddenly attacked the relief center, killing several people. However, the Israeli military dismissed the reports in a statement, saying that false reports have been circulating that raise serious suspicions that Israeli soldiers have fired on civilians near a humanitarian aid distribution site, calling it false. The Israeli military explained that no civilians were fired at inside or around the distribution center. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation also issued a press release saying that relief supplies were distributed safely and that Hamas is actively spreading rumors about casualties, which they call untrue and fabricated. The GHF announced that it distributed more than 15,000 boxes of relief supplies on Sunday and that more than 67,000 boxes have been distributed since the site opened last week. Iseung-jae, Arirang News.
In other news, designated airports here in Korea and in neighboring Japan have opened priority lanes for passport holders from the two countries to facilitate entry procedures as part of a way of celebrating the 60th anniversary of their official friendship. Park Hyo-bin has more.
To mark the 60th anniversary of the normalization of diplomatic relations, South Korea and Japan have launched special fast-track immigration lanes at select airports for travelers between the two countries. On Sunday, June 1st, Japan opened dedicated lanes for Korean nationals at Haneda and Fukuoka airports, while South Korea has been offering similar lanes for Japanese travelers at Gimpo and Kimhae airports. Thanks to the new lanes, what used to take up to an hour can now be completed in just a few minutes.
It used to take more than an hour, so getting to where I'm staying took a long time. But today I passed through immigration quickly. It's so much more convenient.
I'm thinking about working in Japan, so I'll probably be visiting more often. Being able to go through a Korean-only lane really helps save time.
These exclusive lanes are part of a one-month pilot program, which operates daily from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. throughout June. Travelers must have visited the partner country within the past year and completed immigration and customs declarations in advance via mobile. In the case of Gimpo and Haneda airports, the fast-track lanes are limited to passengers flying with Korean Air, Asiana Airlines, Japan Airlines, or All Nippon Airways. Meanwhile, the number of tourists traveling between South Korea and Japan has been steadily rising. Last year, a record of nearly 9 million Koreans visited Japan, while over 3 million Japanese nationals traveled to South Korea. Park Hyo-bin, Arirang News.
South Korean global sensation BTS will be celebrating their 12th anniversary with both an online and offline celebration. The group's agency, Big Hit Music, announced that the 2025 BTS FESTA, a celebration held annually to mark the group's debut, will run both online and offline for 2 weeks starting June 1st. The in-person festivities will take place in the city of Goyang on June 13th and 14th, featuring around 20 booths, including a BTS locker, showcasing the members' cherished items, and a Spotify playlist corner with songs they selected. A series of online content, including videos and photos, will also be released gradually through June 13th.
The first Monday of June started with rain across the country. About 5 millimeters of rain is expected in the Seoul metropolitan area, 5 to 10 millimeters in Gangwon-do province, the Chungcheong-do provinces, and Jeollabuk-do province, 5 to 20 millimeters in Jeollanam-do province and the Gyeongsang-do provinces, and 10 to 60 millimeters on Jeju Island until tomorrow morning. The rain is cooling things up a bit. The daytime temperature in Seoul rose up to 23 degrees Celsius, about 6 degrees lower than yesterday at the same time. Seoul will see highs of 25 degrees tomorrow with clear skies. Tomorrow morning, most areas will start off at around 15 to 17 degrees Celsius. Daily highs will move up to 26 degrees in Daejeon and Gyeongju, 23 degrees in Busan. The temperatures will stay lower than the average in the first half of this week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
And that is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. We will be back with our presidential election coverage tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Korea time.